You're good. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Jason. The board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meetings for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public. Does anyone wish to speak at this time?
No.
No, not yet. Ed, do you have?
Am I on the agenda or not?
You're not, no.
All right.
We should just start putting you on there.
Yeah, just put Ed.
Make you
I
wait.
know.
Yeah, there you go. I did go over and I drove that bus, that 2012 over in Missoula. This is a very good, tight bus. I took it down pretty rough road. There's no rattles or anything on it. I got a call today at 4 we're looking at. They were sold, so I still got feelers out to see if we can find one. But and bus 2 is supposed to be ready by the end of this week, but we'll see.
It's still in Missoula. That's one, yeah, okay.
Which one was the 2012? Was it the,
The 84 passenger.
okay.
There's 29,000, or is that
29 one, yeah, I think so it is.
Okay, so we may need to schedule a transportation committee meeting if we're going to discuss that, if that is something we want to move forward with.
Or a special board meeting.
Yeah,
So
that,
we can-
something prior to the November meeting.
Right.
That's
Because the committee meeting there, he asked to look at that, so I wouldn't think that, would the committee have to talk about it again, or could it just?
Well, they wouldn't have to. Generally, the committee would bring a recommendation to the board. But in this case, where we're trying to do it prior to the November meeting, a special board meeting would be applicable as well. Okay. All right.
Chair, it's up.
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to give a big thank you to staff, administration, everybody involved. We had that unfortunate event this last month since our last board meeting. So I just wanted to give a hats off to the community and thank the community and everybody else involved for the support. It was greatly appreciated by all those I'm sure involved. And so just a thank you for everybody to navigate through those tough times. And yeah, just a big thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks to you as well.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, now recognition of delegations correspondence. This would be Mrs. Lockery and her.
Actually, not me.
Not.
Us, I guess, maybe a little bit. Most of you guys know me. My name's Kayla Kraft. I'm the president of our Brockwater FFA chapter. I'm currently in the ag sales competition in vet science, and I have done Harley Pro, livestock, poultry, milk quality, meat, creed, star, green hand, and horse evaluation. Just want to touch on Fall Fest real quick. That was a huge hit. We thank you guys for your support. Again, the community has been a real big help with that. It's one of our biggest fundraisers, so it's really helpful for us. We're also hosting speaking districts this fall, and that'll be the last week of January, and we'd love to see you guys as volunteers to help judge those.
So I'm Amanda Paciska. I'm the vice president. I am currently competing in vet science and livestock evaluation. I have competed in sales, meat evaluation, milk evaluation, Harley Pro, creed. I think that's it. I'd like to touch on some things that we've done recently. We went to a Ruby Valley Invitational Livestock Judging Competition. We got third in our district, which means we're going to state. We got fifth as a team overall. I placed third as an individual. We had Caitlin Noyes with 12th, and then Spencer and Aiden in 37th and 38th, I believe. So we all placed really high. And then this weekend, so the 15th and 16th, I think, we're going to Nile and doing livestock judging, sales, and vet science.
I'm Spencer Braun. I'm the sentinel of our FFA chapter. I'm currently competing in livestock and agronomy. Last year, I also competed in meats evaluation. Here on November 16th through 18th, we're going to J-Days, which is an FFA event in Bozeman. We go up there, we take our teams, and we compete over the course of 3 days, and it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm Caitlin Noyes. I compete in vet science and livestock judging. And you're our what officer? Oh, I'm the FFA reporter.
Is there any questions or anything that we can answer?
Just a congratulations, an awesome job.
Yeah, thank you.
And we want to say what to them.
Thank
for
you.
what they do.
Thank you for allowing us to have this chapter and providing us with the support that you do and allowing us to go places. Thank you for your support.
You bet. Thank you for taking the time to come in and talk to the board. We do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I take on to the end of that?
Yep.
Real quick, like, as a member of the rodeo board, this group of kids, along with a bunch of other FFA kids around the state, have been very good about donating their time, their energy, their muscles to help keep the grounds in good working order. They had a day of service early this spring, and Tyler Noyes contacted me and said, gosh, what can we do? And I said, oh, let me give you a list. These kids were part of that. But then they contacted me again later, closer to rodeo time, and said, gosh, what can we do? And I said, oh, let me give you a list. But they're always so good about giving back to our community. Yes, they ask from our community, but they are so giving of our community. And I commend them and Gemma for leading them so well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Do you have any other correspondence?
No.
Okay, we will move forward into the discussion items. Review of the 5th day program.
So I told you guys a little bit about it in the note I sent you today, and we're going to be sending out to families upon your approval. But the 5th day program has been going really well, and Mrs. Hartman and Ruby and all of the staff have been fantastic. We've had a lot of teachers from the high school, middle school, elementary school, all levels jumping in and teaching classes. And I know some of you have stopped by and seen the program. Thank you for doing that. It's been really successful, and I'll let you give the details. I know we are having about 40 on average on Fridays, and
40,
then
45.
if you want to give an update on bus riders and that kind of thing, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, so we're seeing between 40 and 45 kids right now on the 5th day. Right now, just one route is utilized, which is now, since we extended out to Winston, that's where our riders are getting on, is at Winston. But we are still running them until we kind of get more of a routine. People are starting to finally see the routine, how it works, how sign-up works, things like that. So I figure once we get through October, we can revisit that and see what we want to move forward on as far as routes go. Some of the things that we've added guitar now for one night for grades 3 and up. Of course, we have our pottery that's been very popular. I have someone who, we've opened up the position for drones, and so I've got someone talking to me about teaching drones at the program. We ordered everything today for esports, so we can start getting that going. And then like this week coming up, because of the steak fry, we are leaving the grounds for a while. And we are actually going to the state capitol, and the kids will actually get to take a tour of the state capitol as well as Supreme Court. And so and then visit some things around grounds. And then one of the things that's part of the program is I need to incorporate a parent engagement piece. And so I'm trying to do probably one a quarter. And that'll probably be more of either some kind of hands-on or a trip somewhere where parents can be involved in that, and we'll take a big group or something. And the other thing they're working on this week is binary coding. So we're trying to get into some coding.
Cool. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions?
Are you having any struggles, any friction points, everything going smooth? Any help you need?
Actually, no, I've got more and more people jumping in that want to help out. And I think part of it's just that flexibility. So the hours are really flexible, and so I think that helps a lot. I've got quite a few adults, quite a few high school kids that are involved in it and want to be part of it. And I think part of it too is that having that open, like, I had some come to me and say, well, I have this skill, would you be interested in that? I'm like, yes, definitely. So I think that also is inviting people in to add new pieces to it.
Okay. So nothing you need from us? Good to go?
I think we're good to go. Yeah,
Okay.
we're just, like this week, the trip, there's still those little things like, okay, we're gonna be away, so how do we bus those kids home, so kind of working with those little things. So on the way back, we're gonna stop at Winston and drop those kids off, and then we'll run the routes later on that day. So that's the only thing we kind of have to figure out is how do we do those when we do field trips, how do we get kids home that are on buses?
Okay.
One other comment I know that has been exciting to hear is when parents come to pick their kids up early, they don't want to leave. They're having so much fun, they don't even realize they're learning, and so that's awesome, just what we want to hear. And then one of the components that is a requirement of the grant is to include social emotional learning, kind of that character building that we're proud of having at our school. And now that we have our new counselor on board, which you'll get to meet tonight, she'll be spending some of her time one Friday a month to fulfill that part of the grant and program.
Very good. Thank you. The school community radio discussion.
All right, so I know that some of the questions revolved around the current equipment, and Luke was able to hold a meeting and have some information for us. I have your email here. I can read, Luke, or if you want to just give the update, it's up to you.
Sure. So we met with Lee Good to talk about any sort of equipment we would need to keep the radio going, what we were looking at. One of his big concerns is where our equipment is under the water tower. It's an uninsulated room, so they have trouble with heat and cold. So he mentioned putting a heat pump in there for around $5,000. The other option is the one piece of equipment that's affected by the cold the most is the radio monitor, and we could move that over to the school. We might not have to worry as much about temperature over there. The other thing he said was that he wanted to replace the radio receiver, and that's the one that gets emergency messages, and that would be about $3,500 to replace that. And then the UPS, and these are all kind of wish list items, he said. The UPS in there, he said we've had some issue with, and he mentioned replacing that for around $2,500.
So nothing
So
major.
Nothing major, and nothing that needs replaced immediately. These are all kind of like wish items for keeping everything running better over there.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time to meet with him and do that. And then you will also see the bills from last year listed out in front of you. that was provided at the meeting to see the costs from the various, the cost of the music, the cost from broadcasting, the connection fees, and those different costs, so that you have a better idea of how much the radio is costing the school.
Where are we at with our analysis on switching over to the new system potentially?
So the feedback that we've gotten so far is that there's definitely some folks out there that feel, strongly about the radio system, the radio station. So the next step would be to have a community meeting and wanting to keep it on the agenda to get ongoing feedback.
One thing that was brought up, I was a part of the meeting, and Luke was in as well. One thing that was brought up was to see if there was any way to gauge how many people were actually listening to the radio station. And unfortunately, that's the only way to do that is to put out pay for a survey to be done by a big national company, which could potentially cost us a lot of money. The other way is just to find out, during a game, put out an announcement if you're interested in hearing this radio station, provide us with some feedback, and it would be something that we want to obviously have a plan for it before we do that, so we'd have a way to be able to analyze that. But we did talk about that as well, and we talked about the antiquated software that was an issue with going forward with the current station, and that he does have plans on updating that and bringing it more current so it'll be in a more usable state. How quickly that'll happen, I don't know, because currently it's very difficult for us to use.
Well, my thought is, if this is a community radio, it should be funded by other elements of the community instead of just the school. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I love the radio. I think it's very important, but for us to foot the entire bill, it'd be nice to have the community engagement, get the Chamber of Commerce, maybe even the Rotary, just get the stakeholders in the same room and say, hey, if we all chip in a little bit, then it's manageable. But if we're footing the entire bill, it's not manageable, especially when Luke's got all these other bills that we're going to have to do for infrastructure. And then if there's a way to make it better, I'm sure, Gary, you probably got some ideas on how to make it better too. I mean,
I don't have that.
But anyway, I think that's where we're at. I mean, feedback from the board.
I guess Paul, I know, you and I have had a couple of discussions on the phone, and I'm guessing that's probably why you're here tonight. Do you have any input as a community member on, the viability and the worth of the radio to you as a community member?
Not in particular. I enjoy the station. I think it's a plus. I would think twice about giving it up, I guess, or giving anything up that's positive. Maybe we can make it better. I did go to call into Roger Lundquist because I don't know anything about radio. He's the radio manager. He had ideas about improving or cost improvements or anything like that. I'm not your man for all the answers on that. But I do love the station. I love listening to local sports. And if we can make it better, or at least keep it there with a reasonable cost, I think it's worthwhile.
Any ideas on how to get, that survey or a question out to the community that we could get a response? And I guess the thing, Joe mentioned, doing it during the games, but I guess, from when I look at it, I'm also interested in how many people are using the radio throughout the day besides the games, because we know there's alternatives, apps and things like that we can broadcast our games on, but the radio is obviously out there all day long for other uses and for other avenues, and trying to figure out how do we gauge, community involvement in that aspect of it.
That's a new question.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared for
Yeah,
that.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I know you had expressed, interest in it, and you did mention the gentleman, and I was kind of waiting till we knew when that community meeting was going to be to to try and involve him in that discussion.
I know there's that spotlight on there now about World War II that you can't hardly hear. Maybe if you did another blip like that, so listeners would know to respond to something.
Okay.
That's all I can think of at the moment.
Luke, I guess back to yours, looking at spending those dollars on that, does that equipment have a lifespan or?
So I know I can speak for the UPS that's in there. We've had that in there probably 10 years. I know we replaced the battery on it at one point, but typically those last a decent amount of time. And those are there just to kind of, if there's any sort of power outages, it keeps the radio going. It's important for emergency weather stuff if you lose power there. And then I will say that, when Mia was here running the radio stuff, she said that the radio pretty much can pay for itself if you put enough stuff out there and get enough involvement.
And there's grants as well that I know that when Mia was here, she applied for it and got.
Yeah, I know that's a position that, the district has struggled with over the past, 5-6 years to keep somebody in it because it's probably not enough work to be a full-time position, and trying to find somebody to fill that role part-time and do it is definitely been a struggle, but, okay.
Yeah, and I know when Mia was here, we had the broadcast class and they did a whole bunch of recordings, and then we haven't had that class for quite a few years, so. Yeah, there is definitely some stuff that isn't on there that used to be.
We've tried it off and on over the years, a journalism class, a broadcast class. I know, second semester, Joe Horn, we revamped some of his curriculum to include kind of a mass media class, same thing, like a marketing and using things like the radio and other avenues for advertising and things like that. So I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. It's brand new for us this year, but just interest has dwindled, trying to keep that going. It was, we had a few in it, and that just kids weren't interested in journalism or interested in that avenue. So trying to refresh that and make it something kids are interested in. And yeah, it definitely ebbs and flows and is up and down.
Does Fifth Day want to learn how to run a radio?
They're fun. Next 20 days are there.
We are going to be doing podcasting, so we're going to kind of branch into that a little bit.
Seems like your community meeting is the next step, and then if you have willing, interested parties that are able to help cost share on it, you don't have to worry about the number of users per se, right? We're gonna keep it if we have enough money to keep it, otherwise.
Yeah.
How is the sponsorship right now? How's that handled?
Us. Yeah, Mr. Bowman and I, mainly Mr. Bowman right now. I was gonna just start going business, but Gary took that on since he's doing the games and made that connection to.
How does that work though? I mean, what are we asking for sponsorship? How are they getting promoted?
We raised up prices this year because of the cost that the district took out of the general fund for the radio. And then we do have the expenses of paying for the folks that agree to broadcast the games for us. And if they travel like to districts and things like that, then we have to pay for hotels, so then it's more costly, obviously. So we raised it to.
So last year was $100 for a game, sponsor of a game. This year we bumped it up to $150 because it seemed like we're having a little bit of a problem there. The community's done a great job of helping us out, and we just read through ads whenever we get time during games, and it's all the time. So we charge $150 a game for anybody that wants to have their business talked about on the radio. So sometimes in the past have been even non-businesses have done it, just people. I think we had junior high teachers one time ended up putting a bunch of money so we could talk Brad had to talk really well about the junior high teacher. It was great. So we do, so that's how that sponsorship, I just hit the businesses and call the ones that we've been having over the last 10 years. And then we're filled up through football, and I probably have maybe a quarter of the basketball games taken care of. So when I get an open day, I just go walk around and start making phone calls and see if anybody wants to sponsor a game. So then they fill up pretty quick. They're pretty generous about it. And it's pretty good commercial. I think we have a lot of listeners. So that's how that goes through. So.
Do they provide you with the information, or do you gotta?
So then we have to go, then I hit them back up with information, getting all that, any specials, things they have going on the next few weeks or whatever. So we hit them up again right the week of to just get information. You listened to the broadcast before, and I have all kinds of information about things going on from that business. So
They're really good at ad-libbing too.
So sponsorships are only for games?
Yeah, sponsors only for games. And that, as far as I know, I don't think there's sponsors for everything else because there's no ads running any other time during it, right? So yeah, the only ads we sell are ads during broadcastings of games because that's live and it's easy just to read through an ad for a Bird's Nest or whatever. So I think TK's is up this next one. So, but, yeah.
How long does it take, Luke, for us to get a file to them, like if we wanted to announce something?
So the way it works now, it's kind of out of our hands. We record the file, I believe in WAV format, and then we email it to them and they have to upload it. But we are looking at software where we can control that. We can see what's uploaded and upload things ourselves without having to reach out to them. So I mean, time-wise, it doesn't take that much, especially if someone records something and we just have the file. But
Is the software something you already have or something?
so currently, we don't have any software. That's the problem. Currently, we just record it, whatever we've got, and then send it to them by email, and they upload it onto the actual radio for us.
See, under the old format, we could put it on ourselves and choose when we want to run it,
Right.
and what we want to do, and now that's kind of out of our hands. You know, if we wanted to have an announcement and have it run every hour on the hour, we had that ability to do that without even involving them. And now with that software not being functional, we can't do that. Like if we had, you know, say some guy had a cool show he was going to put on. We have to record it and send it to them, and we're at the mercy of making sure it gets on at that time.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, and so what he's looking at is there's a free software out there that he's gonna try to set up for us. We can create a virtual server and host it ourselves, so it shouldn't cost us anything. It's just a matter of when he can get it to work or not with his system.
Do you have any idea what the software cost if we were to purchase
The software's
one?
free. The software's free. So it's software basically that works with his radio server that puts the files on there automatically without having any other inputs. So we can schedule that stuff instead of having to have them manually do it.
And then the other, there's also talk about, I know currently we have interruptions with when they say the call signs every hour during the football games, and that there's talk about actually with this new software would actually let us be able to schedule our football games free of interruptions and actually use it more like what it should be.
So do we want to, next step, I guess, do we want to reach out and see who's interested in coming together and find a date?
Yeah, I think we just need to set a date.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of why I paused after Ed is, you know, if we're going to set a special meeting, maybe that will be the target time and we can have the one action item to go along with that meeting. But I think we just pick a date, set it, and then try and invite as many and all the people that are interested to get that to happen.
Okay.
And Jason, we could certainly do an announcement every hour on the radio or whatever, so that it'll pull more listeners that are listening during the day. But we'll need a date and then we can bring it out there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, we will work on that and try and get that date picked here in the very near future. Any other comments on that? Questions? Okay. The SRO position in partnership with the sheriff's office. Mr. Rouser.
Sorry about my clothing.
Nice t-shirt.
No, so, I got a free t-shirt in high school. I'm not part of class of 2020.
We're all part of the class
Yeah.
of 2020.
So, when I ran for sheriff this last year, part of one of my goals was to work with the school on getting an SRO. In the school, those who don't know, be a school resource officer. Over the last few years, I think there's been an increase in us getting called down there. I know sometimes we even don't get called down there, where somebody there would be able to help manage some of those problems. You got assaults, vaping, seems to be an ongoing issue. Attitude, just general kids, they're struggling with things at home, they bring it to school. I think having SRO there would be a huge impact. Over the start of last school year, so a little over a year ago, I started every morning that I can. I drop my kids off at school and I go walk to the school. I see some of you guys in there in the mornings. I've noticed just by me doing that, the impact it's had on the relationships I've been able to build with some of the kids. And I'm only there maybe an hour, 2 hours at most. I'm talking to Mr. Rock in his office. But seeing the relationships I've been able to build, the trust. I know there's some kids that when I first started, you could tell they weren't real comfortable even being around law enforcement. They come in now and they're talking to me, joking with me, smiling. It's been a huge, I guess, it's made a big difference even in my life, just being able to be around the kids, because they do mean a lot to me. It's something that I really want to get going. Was it 2 years ago, I think we had, I think it was some TikTok challenge. Social media has become a huge issue, where they were calling some knucklehead on TikTok or something was calling for a national day of school violence. So we had, it was like the day before we find out about this, we're trying to call deputies in, to make sure the kids are safe and staff is safe. And with an SRO, they'd be here, they'd be tied in with other schools to be able to get that information faster. And then you'd already have somebody here all the time. What I envision is in the mornings, they're gonna get here, what's up to them, but help patrol the school. We have deputies that do that right now. They would still help in the mornings because one guy can't be there and inside here. But to be able to do that, spend the day in the school, help with any behavior problems, talk to, the superintendent, principals, teachers. You kind of get to see, just me being in there in the morning, I can kind of see some of the kids that are struggling with certain things, and you kind of know maybe somebody that's there all day could maybe help focus on that kid, see what's going on, see what's going on at home. We also try our best to do, we got it wrote down, where kids having an incident happens with a.
Handle with care.
Handle with care. So I envision the SRO will be able to come in, look through the calls for service from the night before, and also just touch it with the principals or Susie or whoever to say, hey, handle with care. This kid handled with care. If something happened last night, we won't say what, but, try to just be a little, just kind of keep an eye on them, talk to them, make sure they're doing all right. You see the school shootings, you hear sometimes, oh, that'll never happen here. If you have that attitude and then all of a sudden it does, it's too late. So I would rather get ahead of it and at least just have somebody here to make sure that you have a deputy here every day. They work school hours. We'd probably work with Susie or something on it, whether it's 410s with the regular school, or have like 5 days where they're here on Fridays or something, whatever they think's best. And then during the summer, they would just be out with us patrolling. I'm not looking for any big numbers, but right now, obviously, I'd like to have your guys's, I guess, you guys jump on board with this and the commitment to you guys that you are good with this, and that you would like to have an SRO. And then I have enough money in my budget to start this. I've actually already ordered a car, because it takes months to get them ordered. So I have enough money to get it started, get all the equipment. It's gonna cost probably $100,000 more to get a deputy, a new position started. I obviously have to work with the county commissioners and getting all that rolling on their side, so I need your guys' approval to get it, that you guys wanna work in towards something. And then I would like, you know, down the road here, some kind of a money commitment from you guys. Obviously not the whole thing, but I mean, I'm taking a full-time deputy and putting them here for the safety of the kids, all school year. And then during the summer, they'd be out patrolling, you know, around town or, you know, down south or whatever we decide. But, you know, like I said, it's, you know, deputies, they start out, I don't have the exact number, probably around 65,000 a year, just in salary. That doesn't include training, insurance, bulletproof vest, guns, tasers, laptops in cars, printers in cars. The car itself is $45,000. So it'd be about $30,000 to upfit the car with lights. I mean, everything's so expensive. But like I said, it is important enough to me to where I am going to, if you guys are okay with starting to move forward, I will put all the money up front to get it started. And then just down the road, if I can get, once you guys can have some meetings and stuff on what you would be able to commit every year. Because I also don't want to, I want to know that if I hire somebody in 2, 3, 4 years, I'm not laying them off because we just decide not to do it. But I will say, I think I've talked to, I mean, the principals, I've talked to the superintendent multiple times, I've talked to teachers, and from what I gather, everyone's on board with it. They understand the need of it. They're here all day, every day, dealing with some of the behavioral problems. I think it's getting worse every year. What that is, I don't know. It's probably just society in general. Just, we're busy too. We're the busiest we've ever been. So, so yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions on it. I'm sure you have lots of questions. But.
First, I'd just like to say, I do appreciate, you know, all that you guys have done, and the presence here the last several years has definitely been noticed and appreciated. I do walk through and I see you here, like you say, just about every day. And we do appreciate that and appreciate the patrolling around outside. Obviously, the hard question is money, you know, and the biggest thing we struggle with is trying to find money to pay for things. So I don't think there's any question on the need or, you know, the service that would be there. It's just finding the dollars.
Yeah, and we can discuss that later down the road. I mean, budgets, you know, we're already past budgeting right now. Truthfully, what I would envision is maybe next semester, you know, maybe the start of second semester, I could get somebody in here by then. And then, you know, it'd be next August, you know, or somebody would be in here for the whole year. So we have some time for you guys to discuss what you need to. But like I said, I have the money to put it up front and get everything rolling. So.
For how long? A year, are you saying, or?
I mean, I would like to have an answer by next budget, you know. I don't know when you guys budget at the same time as the county, or you guys?
We set our budget in August, but we will, you know, most of the work happens late spring.
That's about what we do. You know, we budget off of last year's mill values, so we already know what we're getting. Obviously, the new mill evaluations came in. We're going to have more money. So, I mean, we were going to work on a cost grant through the federal government. I don't know if you've ever got a grant through the federal government, but I've rather slam my hand in a car door.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We got one a couple of years ago. And we're still trying to get money from them. You gotta go to this website, to this website, to this website. We don't have a grant writer, but we have the money, or we will have the money to just do it, so. But, like I said, I'm not looking for you guys to pay the whole thing every year when we can get into that discussion down the road or something, but I would just like your approval, or like if you guys are on board to get somebody, so I can go to the commission to get the position. That's gonna take some time, and then I'm hoping I can put somebody in our office that's already been a deputy in the school. Like, I don't really want to hire a brand new guy that's eager to go just down meth head, just go fast down the road, and then you're in the school where it's different. It's going to be a different kind of pace work. It's going to be a little slower pace, but a little bit more like community relations and building relationships with kids.
I guess that would be my question is, do you sit down with the board or staff and kind of discuss what that looks like? What it would look like as far as them in the building, what kind of expectations that we would want to see or things?
Yeah, so there's trainings that I'd be sending them to on what they do every day. And then, we would come up with something, once if there's a money exchange, we'd come up with an MOU or something where everyone would be satisfied. Obviously, when I started, they're gonna be just a full-time deputy, but it is important enough to me where I'm gonna put them in school every day. So,
There are best practices, protocols
That's what I was wanting.
that are out
The
there.
money part.
So I've talked to other districts about that, and we have good models, in neighboring schools that have had successful programs over many years. And I've heard the conversations on making sure that there's clear guidelines on the difference of disciplinarian and all those different kinds of things. So I think we would definitely work together to be on the same page with that. I hear what you're saying about grants, and I know you said, you'd rather get it launched with budget that you have, but we have looked at the COPS grant, and the Stop School Violence grant is one that when it first came to be, I worked with Danes on it in DC, and he was a big advocate for getting that launched. And another round of that is coming open this spring, and it will fund an SRO in schools. The problem with that, like we talked about, and I know you guys have experienced, is then, and part of your concern, then if that funding goes away, then, and previously the SRO was lost. So if there's any opportunity to plan for sustainability, I do see, a lot more funding coming out for schools for safety and school violence prevention. So I'm hopeful that it would be successful in the future. And Nick and I talked about, our contribution up front being providing an office and some of those kinds of things that are not necessarily a money contribution, but it is in kind of an in-kind, somewhat of a contribution. What we could provide to offer to the program would be, an office for the SRO and those different kind of components.
I know after visiting with Nick, honestly, we talked about this before, 6, 7 years ago, and kind of my personal feel was, I just don't know that we can justify that. We don't really need, I don't know why we would need that. So totally feel different about that today. Just so much has changed in the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 years with different things we're dealing with, and just having that support would be really valuable. I've visited with other colleagues that are same size district as us, and saying, we're all dealing with a lot of the same things. And the good thing is that it doesn't necessarily have to be, the serve and protect part is really important. That's great, but there's also an educational piece to it as well. And I think it's really beneficial when Nick talks about moving relationships and having kids have good relationships with law enforcement authorities and things like that. There's a lot of things that I know they can assist with to help with, character education, drug and alcohol education. There's just a ton of things that could be positive and bring a positive relationship and help, and that's not just in a high school. I mean, middle school, the things we're seeing even younger and younger in elementary, and just having that positive support. It's not a negative thing. It's definitely a positive thing. And there are a lot of resources and a lot of things that can be done to make that a really good experience for everybody. So, including the officers.
Yeah, I mean, I did last year, put together a presentation, when Sean wanted to do that again, I want to do that again, but over teen suicide and social media. But I would have them work on things like that. Okay, these kids need, we need to have a talk with them on vaping or something like that, where they can sit down, put a presentation together.